Yo, Shortbox Nation, this is Botter, and I'm here to tell you right now that con season starts early this year with the return of Northeast Florida's premier anime, comic book, and sci-fi event, Collective Con. That's right, Northeast Florida's largest pop culture convention returns for its 10th year on March 8th through the 10th at the Prime Osborne Center in Jacksonville, Florida. 10 years of Collective Con, they're pulling all the stops out to make sure this is a can't-miss event. And the guest list they got going, don't even get me started on the guest list. I mean, they've got A-list celebrity guests and voice actors from some of your favorite movies, anime, and video games like Elijah Wood and Sean Ashton, Ray Park, Trisha Helfer, Ross Marquand, Max Middleman, and Bo-Katan herself will be there, Katie Sackhoff. Tell me what other convention is giving you the opportunity to meet Frodo and Sam from Lord of the Rings, Darth Maul, and One Punch Man all under the same roof. Only at Collective Con. And if you're looking to get some of your favorite comics signed, or if you want to get an original sketch from some of the best comic artists in the world, well, you're in luck, because there'll be plenty of comic and creator guests there, like DC comic artist extraordinaire Clay Mann, Harvey Award-nominated illustrator John Taylor Christopher, Marvel and DC cover artist Chris Stevens, and acclaimed Star Wars author Timothy Zahn. They'll all be at Collective Con this year. And if you're looking to bring the family, or if you want to make a weekend out of it, you're in luck, because there'll be so much going on at Collective Con that weekend in the form of vendors, fan panels, video game tournaments, cosplay contests, after parties, and a bunch of fan events. You can purchase single and 3-day weekend passes now using the link in this episode's show notes, or by going to collectivecon.com to book your tickets and hotel. Buy your tickets now, and I'll see you at Collective Con, March 8th through the 10th. Now let's start the show. In this episode of The Short Box.
So I started sending samples every week, like once a week or twice a week. I would send him drawings.
Wow.
Until one day, no response. It was pure faith. He says, "This is very cool, Juan. I would like to find something for you."
Wow.
And I was like, dude, and it's crazy. I was living alone. My friends were all in Buenos Aires. My other friend in Mexico wasn't around. So I was alone in my apartment. And I was like, yes. Like, I wanted to do, like, you know, in Formula One when they take out the champagne and like, I wanted to do that.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Short Box Podcast.
The Short Box Podcast is recorded live from Jacksonville, Florida.
Yo, Shortbox Nation, welcome back to the podcast. How's everyone feeling? Hopefully everyone at home is yelling into the void, into the air. I'm feeling good, Botter. How about you? I'm feeling great. If you're new to the show, welcome. My name is Botter, and this is the Shortbox Podcast, the comic book talk show that brings you the best conversations about comics and the pop culture inspired by them. And sometimes, occasionally, you'll even get to hear interviews with the best creators working in the industry today. This is episode 399. Today, we've got comic artist Juan Gedeon on the show to talk about how he went from working in advertising and drawing storyboarding for commercials to eventually breaking into comics and drawing some of its most popular and iconic characters. For anyone that needs a crash course on Juan, let me tell you about him. Juan is an Argentinian artist who got his big break by drawing the Ghost Racers miniseries for Marvel Comics in 2015. Any fans of Hickman's Secret Wars or Battle World and all those spinoffs? Juan did the Ghost Racers series. And since then, he's interpreted some of Marvel's biggest characters in his unique signature style. He's drawn Spider-Man, Venom, Ms. Marvel, Thor, and most recently, Doctor Strange. You can actually find his artwork in this month's Doctor Strange #6. And outside of Marvel, he's also drawn issues of Teen Titans and Death Metal for DC Comics. He's also the lead artist on the Skybound and Image maxi series Horizon of writer Brandon Thompson. And most recently, he just wrapped up the prehistoric knockout 6-issue miniseries Jurassic League, which he co-wrote with Daniel Warren Johnson and provided pencil for a majority of the series. Together, we'll hear from the man himself and explore some of his influences and pick his brain about the job and what it takes to be successful as a penciler and inker. Shortbox Nation, let's welcome for the first time ever, Juan Gedeon to the show.
Hey guys, thank you for having me.
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm great.
I'm gonna let this one ride out. There we go. I'm gonna let that one ride out to the finish right there.
That was very nice.
Juan, this interview only took me, when was Heroes Con? It was in June.
June.
We are now August, early August talking. This is actually a pretty good record for me. Normally it takes a little longer to arrange things, schedules, but I'm so glad I got you on the show, man.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I was looking forward to this.
Hell yeah. I still got the stickers, by the way, I bought from you. I haven't decided where to put these stickers. Drew, had reminded me that he copped like the big 6-inch Venom sticker. And I won't lie, I immediately had like buyer's remorse. I was like, damn it, why did I buy this small
I'll
one?
send you one. I'll send you one. I have more designs that I didn't have at Heroes.
Long story short, man, I've been looking forward to chatting with you in more detail. I've been playing hella catch up on all of your comics. This interview gave me a great reason to go back and like finish all of Jurassic League and look into some of the other stuff you've been working on.
Awesome.
Where do you call home? I mentioned in the intro that your hometown, that you were born in Argentina. Like, where do you call home now?
Yeah. Oh, I call home San Gabriel in California. I really like it here. Really, really like it. I want to stay as much as possible.
How long have you been living there?
I moved during COVID, so 2023, so maybe 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, the last years are a blur. I don't know exactly when that happened. So it was either 2020, 2021.
Okay. And you said you're enjoying your time there.
Oh, it's awesome. It's like old people and family, so it's very quiet. It's perfect for me because I'm like a hermit. I'm a hermit, and I hate loud neighbors. I hate loud noises.
Yeah.
Noises. So this is perfect. This is perfect for me. It's very safe.
Yeah.
Like the houses don't have fences. The windows don't have like bars. It's very nice.
You were born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, correct?
Yes.
When's
Yes, sir.
the last time you had a chance to go back?
Oh man, 2018. So wow, 5 years.
How would you describe your hometown for anyone that's never, like myself, that's never been to Argentina, has no like idea of what it's like? Like, describe your hometown in your neighborhood.
Okay, so I would say the people from Argentina are basically Italians that speak Spanish. There's all shapes of colors and sizes. There's people that are like white as snow and or darker than me, redheads. It's like a melting pot. So there's everything.
Okay.
It's not like, it's hard to say, oh, the typical Argentine person looks like this. It's very hard.
Okay.
It's very hard. So that's one thing. And then I would describe Buenos Aires. It's crazy because you have downtown that is like downtown LA, or I would compare it to New York, like big buildings, tall buildings, chaos, a lot of traffic, a lot of people. But then where I lived, it was like 40 minutes away in a city called San Isidro. And it was like small, but there was also like a lot of activity. Yeah. It's like kind of like, yeah, I think Charlotte would be a good comparison.
Oh,
Charlotte,
really?
Heroes. Yeah. You have like have buildings, you have a ton of restaurants, you have a lot of houses, a lot of apartments.
Is it like the historic area? Because I know Charlotte is kind of like at that historic feel to it. And,
well, there's a historic, there's a very old cathedral.
Okay.
Near where I live, very old cathedral. So it's very lively. I wouldn't say it's like, this would be a good description. It's not like a small town. It's not like a small town with like 50 people in there. It's not like that at all. But it wasn't like a big city, like a big metropolis. Like the metropolis, like the big buildings and the traffic and the chaos was far away. It's like in the middle. And it's very nice. It's very nice.
And what's the comic scene like in Argentina? Because I had a feeling that Argentina has produced, and given the world a lot of great comic artists. And I quickly just Googled something, and some of the names I recognize are like Eduardo Risso, Ariel Olivetti. I think I'm saying that right. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, like the legendary and iconic Hector German. Was it Osterheld? Is that his name?
Osterheld, yeah, the writer, yeah.
So, I mean, can you describe like what is the comic scene like in Argentina, or maybe where you're from specifically in Argentina? Like, what is the view on comics and the culture there?
That's so interesting. I would divide that answer in two parts.
Okay.
Like currently, I think people are obsessed with American comics, Marvel, DC. And then there's the anime and manga crowd that's very strong, very big. You have those things. Then you have humor, like people like cartoons that appear in newspapers
so
or
comic
stuff
strips.
like that. Comic strips. So that would be now. But in the past, like when I was like a kid, until I was like 12, 13, there were comics being printed in Argentina by Argentine artists.
Okay.
So one of the big ones that I'm going to name that I'm very fond of are Anita, the daughter of the executioner. The artist was Juan Bobillo, they will pronounce it differently here. He worked for Marvel and DC. That comic was like insane. That was amazing. The artist ended up drawing Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, She-Hulk.
Anita Blake, the vampire hunter, or the executioner's daughter. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. In Spanish is La hija del verdugo. La hija del verdugo. So that comic was awesome. That came out in the late 90s. And it had the quality of like a Marvel book. Like the art was insane. The colors were insane. The story was really fun. And then there was another one that I still like look at it up to this day, which is called Cazador, means hunter. But my parents wouldn't let me buy it because it had like a lot of gore, violence, naked women, like nudity, like sex. So it was not for kids, like at all.
Holy moly! Yeah, I'm looking. I'm googling this as you're talking.
Yeah.
And this looks like a 12-year-old Botter's like perfect comic book.
Yeah. No, it was insane. And the artists, they were like it was drawn by like 4 people at the time. One of them was Ariel Olivetti. He worked on some issues. He worked on some covers. But then the main one was Mauro Cassioli. He was like Simon Beasley on steroids.
I was just about to say I'm getting like heavy Simon Beasley vibes from this.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is that when Mauro was doing Cazador, I learned this when I got older. Obviously, back then I had no idea. But he was like a kid, like a teenager when he started doing that. So some of those covers that you see that are amazing, he drew them maybe when he was like 19, 20, 21. It was ridiculous. He was like a huge talent and obviously very hardworking. But he was insane. And the best pages from that book were drawn by him.
Wow.
But back then I couldn't see that. So now as an adult, I'm like, oh dude, like this is awesome. Like I wish I had been older when this was around. But that book, man, it was like, it had like violence, action, but it was also comedy. And they were making parodies of current stuff that was happening in Argentina.
Wow.
So the average person would buy that. People who are not comic book fans. Like now it's like, unless you like Superman, Batman, X-Men, Wolverine, you're not going to buy comics. But there were people that were maybe into heavy metal or whatever that were not into comics that would buy this thing because it was hilarious.
Okay, so it had like crossover appeal for a little bit, I guess, for everyone, right? Like if you wanted the humor or the parody or the superhero stuff. Okay.
Yeah. No, they were crazy.
Yeah, this looks, I mean, I recommend for anyone that's into like Simon Beasley or, Garth Ennis, I'd probably put it there. Look up Cazador, Cazador. The art is epic. Is it safe to say that one of these, whether it's Cazador or Anita Blake, is it safe to say one of those was maybe your earliest comic memory, or do you have another like early comic memory that still stuck? Yo, this is Botter. Sorry for interrupting this episode, but I'll keep it brief. I wanted to let you know about a massive sale we have going on over at the Shortbox store on all of our merchandise and apparel. That's theshortboxstore.bigcartel.com. You can now save 20% off your entire order using the discount code YOO, Y-O-O. So if you've been waiting for the right time to finally buy that gauntlet snapback, or if you ever wanted to buy any of the shirts you see me wear on the podcast, well, now's your chance to get them for a steal. We still have a few sizes left of everything, but they won't last long, and once they're gone, they are gone. And that I mentioned that all of our apparel is screen printed on high quality material. None of that heat transfer or direct to garment stuff. Our shirts are some of the most comfortable ones you'll ever wear, and the hats look even better in person. So wear your support for the Shortbox Nation proudly, knowing that you're going to look damn good doing it. Get to theshortboxstore.bigcartel.com as soon as you can, and don't forget to use that discount code YOO, Y-O-O, to save 20% off your entire order. All of this information can be found in this episode's show notes if you want to get there faster. Thanks for not pressing fast forward. Now back to the show.
Early comic memories. Again, it would have two parts. One would be the comic books of the Ninja Turtles based on the cartoon. Those they were super goofy, but I loved them. So that was one. But then when I started, like, quote unquote, taking this seriously, the first memories were Spawn.
Okay.
That was like the turning point. I'm like, I saw the toys first, then I saw the comic book, and I'm like, no, I felt like that book was like showing me a path. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I saw that, and I'm like, this is what I want to do. Like, this is what I want to do, and this is the line or the vibe that I want to follow. The Spawn, the Max, the Creech, Pete, Dale Keown's Pete, and Anita came like a little after. I was a little older. First was for sure Spawn.
Do you remember what issue of Spawn specifically? Or maybe, like, I mean, outside of the very obvious Spawn just being one of the coolest looking characters ever, you know, what did Todd McFarlane say? Like, kids love chains or something like that?
Kids love chains.
Yeah, kids love chains. I mean, like, what was it about, like, Spawn? Was it as simple as the art was just really cool, or was there anything specific that inspired you to, like, pick up a pencil and try your hand at it?
Wow, that's a great question. I didn't think about that.
You can easily just say it was the chains, dude.
It was the design. And I remember the first Spawn comic, the design of Spawn, right?
Yeah.
So, the first comic that I bought, he's in an alley, like, squeezing the hand of a thug, like breaking his hand, holding a gun on the other one. And there's like a bunch of thugs on the ground. It's like the issue that follows the fight with Curse. The Curse appears, I think, issue 23 or 24. And then the next issue, he's like in a victorious pose in an alley.
Yeah.
And that's the one that I bought. And then I'm like, oh, shoot, I need to know what happened before. Because in that issue, he has a hole in his chest. And the Curse is like crucified in the alley, like tied with like chains and stuff. I'm like, what happened? How did this happen? I need to see what happened before. So yeah, that was the first.
It is interesting to see, because I imagine we're probably not too far off in age.
I'm 35.
Okay, 34 here. So definitely not far off at all. So I think it's interesting to see, like, you know, obviously 90s image, you know, your McFarlanes, your Lee Fields, your Lees, all of them, like, having such a big impact on, like, people our age and a little bit older. Seeing them coming to the industry and, like, that is their, like, main inspiration, you know, like, versus the generation, like my dad's generation would say, someone like, you know, Kirby's and all those other early comic artists. It's interesting to see now, like, this new crop of artists come in and, like, Image be like the thing that, like, got them into the industry.
Yeah, and another thing is that the Spawn comics, I bought the Spanish version, which was edited by a publisher from Spain.
I didn't think about that, yeah.
Because it was like in Spanish language. So I think that issue maybe came out in, like, I don't know, whenever it came out, but you have to think about it arrived it made it to Buenos Aires like 2 or 3 years after. So I was reading Spawn, like, in the States, maybe, I don't know, they were on issue 50 and we were on issue 20.
Wow.
25. It was like there were years between.
Man, talk about having to be patient as a teenage boy wanting to find out what happened to Spawn.
Yeah, the delay.
Yeah, there's so many factors in between, you know, from it hitting, you know, finishing printing to getting into your hands. In your situation, it's like, well, I got to wait for the translation to come. I got to wait for that to come. Okay, yeah, there's a lot of different. Yeah, okay, I gotcha. I'm gonna fast forward through your career and life just a little bit because I read somewhere that early in your career, it sounded like after high school, you getting into college, you had a career in advertising and drawing like animation or storyboards for commercials and all that. How did you get into that job?
Dude, so okay, I always wanted to do comics. That's like my formation. I started drawing with an artist from Argentina who passed away, Juan. I studied with him for many years.
So he acted as a mentor for you?
He was a mentor, but then I realized that obviously when you're a kid you don't know, but people always have limitations, right? So I felt like, okay, I'm hitting like a wall here, So after high school, I didn't know what to do. Like, I didn't want to study graphic design because everyone thinks, oh, you're so good at drawing, you should study graphic design. That's not how it works. Graphic design is a completely different beast. I was never into painting, which is a shame because now I want to learn how to paint. Yeah, I think it's awesome. So, and there were schools that were very expensive, like digital art, special effects. They were expensive. My family couldn't afford it. So I'm like, what do I do? And I just started looking for jobs online with like the skills that I had back then. And a studio hired me as an assistant. They were doing storyboards for commercials, and I was basically doing pencils. Then someone else was inking them, and then I would help with colors.
Oh, wow.
Which was like kind of like Karate Kid, when he's like painting the fence, and they're like, "How is this gonna help me fight people?" So it's like, how is this gonna help me draw Wolverine or Batman? But then I learned working under pressure. I learned Photoshop because, and dude, I was even coloring with a mouse.
Oh, wow.
We didn't have tablets back then. It was with a mouse. So, but I learned how to use Photoshop, all the commands. Like my bosses were like super patient with me. But they showed me the ropes, and it just so happens, it's like fate, no? Like a miracle, because they were also comic book fans. So they were doing comics, but storyboards, paid more. So they just made the transition, and they were doing really well. But they always loved comics. So whenever we had some time off, there was no work that day, and I would talk to them about comics, and we would study like pages from Mike Mignola. They were huge Hellboy fans, both of them. So they would teach me, this is how the panels work and how the drawing leads the eye of the viewer to the next panel composition. So it was like an internship, they were my mentors. That was basically like college for me. I didn't go to college or university. I don't have a degree, but that was like my school, you could say.
It sounds like it served multiple purposes. Like you said, it paid the bills.
Dude, yes.
But it also gave you that like toolbox of skills, and you're getting like, and it sounds like your bosses or managers or whatever were like comic literate too.
Oh, they were, yeah.
You mentioned I was watching an interview of yours, and you were talking about a piece of advice you'd give a new artist is like learning different camera shots. You mentioned that you personally enjoy like playing around with the camera and the angle in your panels and whatnot. And I was like, oh, well, it makes sense if he worked as a storyboard artist, because I mean, I can't tell you how many comic artists I've talked to where they're like, yeah, storyboarding and drawing panels for comics is like, almost one and the same.
Yeah.
Well, I guess how much did you have to learn to get into comics coming from that storyboard background?
How much did I have to learn? A lot.
So you still had to learn a lot, despite storyboarding being pretty, pretty similar, huh?
Yeah, because the thing with storyboards, here's the thing: the creatives or the companies that would hire you to do storyboards, in a few words, you make a lot of money, but it sucks. You're just shooting a commercial of people eating their food, whatever. So
very bland, very bland.
Exactly. That's the word. Everything is bland. So with my first teacher, Ruben, I was doing like big dudes, like huge muscles, women with like big curves and everything. But when I started working for commercials, everything, no, tone it down. People don't have muscles. It's just normal people, normal clothes. Don't make them, I always make them like frowning or scowling, and no, that looks scary. That looks dangerous. Like don't do that. So I had to tone it down, learn the foundations, learn perspective, polish my anatomy, learn composition, learn sequentials. Like, first they open the door, then they enter the house, then they grab a beer, then they sit down, watch TV. Like, I never thought of that. I wasn't doing that before. And then switching to comics. Okay, now I have the foundation of the cameras, composition, everything. Okay, now incorporate the things that you like. Now incorporate the muscles. Now incorporate the rendering. Because for commercials, like, you have very tight deadlines. So there was no rendering, like no black areas. Everything was very simple and finished with color. So going back to comics, no, you have to add rendering. You have to put more detail. But then I went to animation. So back again, remove everything, remove the rendering. The animation is also a different beast.
Gotcha.
So it was like a lot of like ups and down, not ups and down, but like, I would say maybe detours or different challenges. So and I'm still learning. Still like,
well, you should, man. Right? Like, that's part of the journey. Like life is all about learning lessons.
Yeah.
According to a few bios that I saw of yours, like they all point towards that Ghost Racers miniseries from Marvel Comics 2015 as kind of like your big break into comics. Do you consider that like the moment for you of breaking in?
Yeah, definitely.
What do you remember from that? Like, how did the opportunity come up, and like, what do you remember from like that experience?
Oh man, it was crazy. Like, I was so happy when first it was the email that said, "Hey Juan, I might have something for you. I would like to work with you," from a Marvel editor.
How did they find you?
I bugged them. Like,
persistent.
Yeah, I was very persistent. So I was living in Mexico back then. I was working in animation. The animation gig ended, so I was doing other stuff.
What was the name of the show?
It never came out.
Oh, damn!
It never came out.
Okay.
We finished all the storyboards, but it never got to actual production. It was never animated.
I heard it goes that way, right? Like at the drop of a dime, it could be like, oh, like the budget pulled or whatever. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, unfortunately, but I downloaded the first issue of All New Ghost Rider, and I read it. I devoured it. I loved it. And then I did something that I never done in my life before, which is email the letter column, send a letter to the actual comic, commenting on how I felt and everything. So I sent an email saying how much I liked it. I never mentioned I was an artist, nothing. And I got a response from the editor that it wasn't like a copy paste response. It was like a legit response. The dude addressed particular points of my message. And I'm like, this is what I always wanted, to have the opportunity to talk to an editor. Like, I hadn't even gone to San Diego Comic-Con. Like, back then you would find a job by going to a convention, showing your folder, your portfolio, and then they would call you. No, I never even done that. So this dude replied, and I'm like, Mark Panicia, thank you for the opportunity, Mark. So grateful eternally. So Mark Panicia responded, and I'm like, now I have to start emailing him every freaking week.
You're every week. Got that ass. I got that email, and I'm not letting go.
Up to that point, I had been working so much that I had a ton of samples, and I'm like, I'm going to start sending him samples every week. Like I said, hey, would you be interested in seeing my work? No response. But I'm like, okay, don't give up. Keep trying.
You're like, oh, cool. I know you. I probably caught you during dinner. I'm going to come back tomorrow, though.
Yeah. So I started sending samples every week, like once a week or twice a week. I would send him drawings.
Wow.
Until one day, no response. It was pure faith. He says, this is very cool, Juan. I would like to find something for you.
Wow.
And I was like, dude, and it's crazy. I was living alone. I didn't even have a girlfriend. No friends. My friends were all in Buenos Aires. My other friend in Mexico wasn't around. So I was alone in my apartment. And I was like, yes, yes. If I wanted to do in Formula One when they take out the champagne and I wanted to do that. So
just drench the whole house. Damn it. This is worth it.
Yeah. So that's how we started. And my first job was not going to be Ghost Racers. Initially, I was going to do Avengers. Like Avengers with the costumes from the 60s.
Oh, was that one of the Battle World?
No, Battle World was after. But this was, I don't know. I think it was like What If.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's pretty major, though.
Yeah, dude.
That's pretty major, though, to get the Avengers off the first project.
Yeah. But he got canned, unfortunately.
All right, so they bring you on board. They want to give you Avengers. It falls through. So then they're like, "Hey, we got this Ghost Racers," which is, I think, is kind of I don't know. It's not coincidental, but it's a cool little parallel that this book that that inspired you to write it and got you in. Now you're drawing the same character. So I mean, how did that I guess onboarding go?
It was very cool because the email said that I got an email from Mark. We were already talking about the Avengers, right? But one day I get an email from Mark Panicia saying, "Oh, by the way, Juan, bad news. Avengers is not going to happen." But in the same email, I have something else. You want to draw Robbie Reyes, Ghost Rider? And I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. I was like stoked because sometimes it's like, oh, you know what? This is not going to happen. And then it's like silence for weeks or months. But it was like in the same email. This is not happening, but this other thing is happening. And I was so pumped.
Wow.
And at this point, that was actually the first time I went to San Diego Comic-Con or any Comic-Con in the US in 2014. And I met Felipe Smith, the writer of All New Ghost Rider, an artist too. He drew some issues. And he's also from Argentina. He was raised in Argentina. His mom is from Argentina, his dad from Jamaica. So, but he lived in Argentina till he was 18. So I saw him at San Diego. I bought his comic, Pipochu, create their own stuff that he made in Japan. And I said, dude, I'm going to work in Avengers. I talked in Spanish, right? But I'm going to work on Avengers. So yeah, this is great. So we, I think, followed each other on Twitter. And when they said, oh, you want to do Ghost Rider and Felipe's going to draw it, I'm like, this is like amazing because when we met, we got along really well. We clicked like right away. So it was such a nice first experience. It was awesome.
Wow. And this is your first time like working on anything comic related, like getting, an outline or notes from a writer and working off a script, the Marvel method of that probably like, so this is where you had to kind of hone and adjust, your process from that storyboarding world into like, I guess the comic book world, right?
Yeah. I like a short short detour, but I had a run in Tomb Raider for Dark Horse.
Oh, cool.
I was the inker. Yeah. I was the inker. So it's like, it's cool, but it didn't feel like mine,
Yeah.
So Ghost Racers was like, okay, I wanted to do this for so long. Let's do it. And I was terrified. I was very scared. But the good thing about the storyboards, working animation, doing the samples on the sides whenever I could, some small jobs here and there, that helped me with like, I watch an anime called Ashime no Ippo about boxing, one of my favorites. And one thing that I take from that is that when the dude gets in the ring, the coach says, I know you're scared, but your body will remember what to do in the fight. Your training will speak for itself. So although I was so scared with Ghost Racers, it's like everything that I had done before helped me. Oh man, I'm so scared. Oh no, I can actually do this. I know how to draw a face. Oh, okay. Another page.
You probably already had put in, like that 10,000 hours in some capacity, probably like 5,000 here, 3 here.
Right. Yeah. But that was like the big, I wouldn't say the big test, but maybe the first big, I don't know. Maybe that's a good way to put it.
You might have just given me one of my favorite origin stories when it comes to breaking the
Yeah.
industry. That was awesome. I'm gonna switch it up, and I want to talk about. Do you have a preferred like medium? Is it strictly pencil and inking? I know you ink a lot of your stuff. Like, what are some of your favorite tools to use?
Favorite tool? I have them right here. This is my favorite, probably pen. I know everyone says, "Oh, what pen do you use?" And I'll tell you right away, it doesn't do anything. You have to know how to use it. But it's this. It's a zebra pen. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, for our audio listeners, this is probably where you want to go on the video version. But
and it's all in Japanese. I can't read this, but I get them at Daiso for $1.50, and it's awesome because the tip, it's like it works. You can adjust the value of the line, so you can do thick lines, thin lines. It's kind of like a mix between a brush and a pen. And a micron. It's awesome. This is my favorite. And then I use microns. I have a pen brush.
Do you do any of your work digital at all?
Yeah. Okay. Like Jurassic League was digital pencils.
Okay.
Digital pencils printed out in a comic book board and inked traditionally, and then scanned again and sent to the colorist. And that's how I've been doing.
Do you ink all of your stuff?
Always.
Why do you like doing both?
Here's the thing. I wouldn't say I like it. It was just necessity. Like my goal was always to be a penciler, like Joe Madureira, Greg Capullo, Chris Bachalo, Lenny Liu. Those were my heroes, Jim Lee. And my dream was to be inked by Scott Williams, Tim Townsend, those guys. But I don't know, for some reason I just started inking my own work. I always fantasize about having an inker and just doing pencils the traditional way. I fantasize about that, but I already got used to doing my own stuff, And I think a lot of the details that I put in my work come from accidents that I use whiteout. I use a ton of whiteout. So I don't know how I would present the pencils to an inker for them to do what I would do with whiteout. I wouldn't know how to. Yeah.
It sounds like you got your own like process and formula that probably makes way more sense in your head than having to try to like lay it out, things like that. Okay. I was reading an interview with yourself and Brandon Thomas, the writer of the image series Horizon that you did, and in it he praises you for your knack of like just making things cool. I don't got a direct quote, but the overall gist of it was that you have a knack for cool aesthetic. You're able to incorporate a lot of action into pages and things like that. And I was curious, where does that come from? You mentioned anime, and I know that you've got a love of video games as well. But comic books aside, like what are some? I guess where does this knack for cool aesthetic and action come from? Like, what are some things that you enjoy?
Well, I'm just like a very cool person overall, so I think that's where it goes. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just so cool that it just
talk your shit, Juan. Effortless.
And then it just comes natural. No, I'm just kidding. I think it's like a combination of the stuff I like. It's like I cannot escape the things that I like. They just like appear, So I think it's like a result of combining the things that I could consider cool. Like for me, the Dragon Ball is super cool. Like the super cool characters, cool hair, cool clothes. I think the Spawn toys were super cool. So
the Spawn toys still to this day are some of the coolest toys, and I'm talking even like this stuff from like the 90s. Still are some of the best toys out there. There's a few toy shops around me, and anytime I go in, I'm looking for like the OG Spawn toys because I mean it's just they're so detailed and just like comic book accurate. And I always think about and I've heard Todd McFarlane say this a lot on several interviews where like his secret to making good toys is you keep molding it and doing whatever you do until it looks just like the comic book.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting that with the toys, with the Spawn toys, I saw the progression. I saw like the first series, the first or second series, and my first encounter with a Spawn toy was not with the Spawn figure. It was another character. I think it was either Mother One from Wetworks, or Vandalizer. Vandalizer is like a blue, like monster demon. And I saw that and I'm like, this is the best thing I ever seen. I turn around and see the cardboard. I'm like, no, look at all these other characters. I need to have all of them, but they were not around. They were like, those specialty stores just had those toys. But then I saw the transition of how they became more detailed and more intricate to the point where they were basically statues with very limited articulation.
Yeah.
And I think now Todd is going back to doing more articulation.
Yep.
But that was like the coolest thing to me at that time. Yeah, no, I always had like a very like defined taste that I couldn't I don't know. I cannot maybe explain it with words, but this is cool. And this is not, for whatever reason. It's very subjective. But I always had like a radar or a very clear like taste,
It sounds like, yeah, you've definitely got a style that, you gravitate towards. And it sounds like you also just follow your gut on like what you think is cool.
Yeah, totally. When I was a kid, for example, I never cared for cars, or micro machines were super hot when I was a boy. But I was like the Turtles, like the Ninja Turtles were like the best.
Mm-hmm.
G.I. Joe, I didn't care for G.I. Joe. I liked Street Sharks. When I saw Street Sharks, it just blew my mind. I'm like, this is the best thing ever. So, I don't know why I prefer one over the other. I really don't know. But yeah, I always had that.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you brought up action figures and Street Shark, especially because as I'm reading Jurassic League, those are two of three things that come to mind when I'm reading it. I'm like, man, the way he draws, these characters are like, they've got some heft to them. The anatomy is on point. The action is awesome. And it made me think of like Street Shark, like these anthropomorphic, creatures that like can fight. They look like bodybuilders, right? And it would be cool. Like the fact that we don't have a Jurassic League action figure line is kind of crazy, but maybe, McFarlane Toys will get to that soon. But the other thing that it made me think of, and I think this is a consistent across your work, but specifically Jurassic League, because I just think the subject matter and the character designs, but it made me really think of Genndy Tartakovsky, like Dexter's Laboratory, Primal, and all that. Like, was Dexter's Laboratory a big influence, or Genndy Tartakovsky in general? Was he like a big influence for you, especially considering your storyboarding background and animation?
Yeah. Well, I would say, I watched that when I was a kid, but I didn't watch those cartoons like Dexter or Powerpuff Girls. I didn't see them from like I wasn't studying them. Like I just watched it and I'm like, oh, cool. But as an adult, when Primal came out, like a few years ago, I don't remember exactly when, but I'm like, this is awesome. This is the best thing. No dialogue, no nothing, just grunting, and like they just telling you the story with the expressions. Mm-hmm. It's all action. That proves that if you do it well, you can, like, action can carry out a whole series.
Yeah. Like
cool action, cool beats. I mean, there's also emotional stuff that they achieve different ways, but Primal was definitely in the DNA. It's definitely in the DNA of Jurassic League. Definitely.
All this talk of McFarlane Toys and Spawn. Have you ever had a chance to meet Todd McFarlane?
Never. I would love to, but I also kind of don't want to, because I'm afraid of being like me being too nervous or get emotional and start crying like an idiot. I'm like, oh, Todd, you're
Todd McFarlane is looking at you like, that's not cool.
That's not cool, man. Like, behave yourself.
He's like, I thought you was cool, Juan. I thought you
were cool. And you're like crying, being a weirdo. I don't want to make him uncomfortable. So I would love to meet him, but it would require like a lot of preparation.
I got you. I guess on the topic of Jurassic League, how about we talk about how Jurassic League came to be? Like, what was the impetus of the idea? How did you end up partnering with, Daniel Warren Johnson, who is one of my absolute favorite comic creators in the game right now? Like, how did that whole idea come about?
Oh man, it's crazy. Okay, so I was drawing death metal The name is such a mouthful.
It
Death
is.
Metal Multiverse and
Yeah.
okay, that issue. It was 40 pages. They were super nice. They gave me a lot of time. It was also back when right when I moved to San Gabriel. So I was like moving and working. But it was also COVID, so they were very understanding. Like, I finished that book, 40 pages.
Which I'm sorry to interrupt, which is a beautiful book, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Means a lot.
I ended up reading that after Jurassic League, and I'm like, man, that same bombastic energy and knack for like cool aesthetics and action was like prevalent in that.
Thank you. So I finished that, and one of the negative aspects of that, quote unquote, was that that's like the epilogue of a major event that happened in DC, right? An event that I didn't read. I had no idea what happened. So they sent me a reference, like the reference folder, rather, was 1 gig.
Wow.
1 gig for reference, because I had to draw stuff that happened, other characters, different events. And I'm like,
you had to basically keep it because there was a story already built up, and it was already dealing with, I mean, it's in the name, multiversity.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things to factor in. Wow.
Yeah. I couldn't do just whatever. If they tell me, draw Venom jumping on rooftops, I can do that. I don't need to read the previous 5 issues, it's just whatever. But by the time I was done with that, I was so exhausted. I'm like, man, I can't, it's like too much. Like, I'm glad that people like it and that they are, if it holds up, I'm so glad. But it was a lot of heavy lifting, not in necessarily in execution, but in terms of like research. What costume is he wearing now? Oh, the costume from Earth 63. Oh, and I drew the costume from the version Earth 20. So I had to, okay. So that was like messing up my momentum. It was hard. So I turned in the last page. I had an all-nighter. I pulled an all-nighter. I was done. My brain was fried. I go for a walk. And I'm like, okay, I'm tired of superheroes. I'm tired. I don't want to do this again.
You got your full. You're like, look, I got 1 gigabyte waiting for me at home. I'm good.
Yeah. So it made me think of the stuff that I want to do. I just want to do monsters and dinosaurs and animals and Ninja Turtles and Street Sharks. And the light bulb went off. And I thought another thing that's in the DNA of Jurassic League is Primal Rage. I also love video games. And Primal Rage was like, I went to the arcades as a kid and I spent so much money. I was so bad at it. I was a kid.
Same.
But I just love the monsters.
Who was your character?
Armadon. He's like a Triceratops and Ankylosaurus combination. I like Blizzard, the blue gorilla, but I couldn't use him right. But Armadon, I was more effective with him. But I just tried all of them. I tried all of them so I could see them. Although I got my ass kicked, I just want to see how they looked and how they moved as a kid. So I thought of Primal Rage. Like as an adult, like I don't know if I should say this, maybe cut it out, but I hate everything. Like I hate 90% of the stuff that's out there. Comics, TV shows, movies. I hate, like I like very few things. So I think of the stuff that made me happy as a kid. And when I see it, it brings something back, in me. So I thought of Primal Rage. That brought me so much joy. So, okay, how can I do like a current version of Primal Rage? Or how can I do Primal Rage with DC? And I thought, how about doing these dinosaurs, but dressed as Batman, dressed as Superman, dressed as Wonder Woman? And the idea came from the book, like Death Metal Multiverses. And I learned that there's so many multiverses. Why not have a multiverse where they are anthropomorphic dinosaurs?
That's some smart thinking right there. You found a loophole.
I found a loophole, exactly. And it worked because they approved it and the book is out.
I imagine for you, it's like, look, I just did a 40-page giant book based on, costume accurate, accurate costume for all the different worlds. Y'all gonna give me 6 issues to draw some dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Goddammit. All right.
That's basically how it went.
Was there any pushback?
Oh, yeah.
I remember when I first seen the announcement, I was like, "Oh shit, a new Daniel Warren Johnson book." Wait, there's dinosaurs?
He's not drawing it. Yeah.
I was like, "Okay, all right, I'm color me interested."
Yeah. So, well, I came up with the designs, right? I came up with the synopsis, like beginning to end is what's going to happen. I came up with the idea of having Darkseid in an egg in the center of the earth. He's like, also in multiverse death metal, blah, blah, blah. You have these things that I never seen in my life called tuning forks, where people are attached to those, and this character sucks the life force out of them. I'm like, how about we do this, but with dinosaurs? So instead of the tuning fork, it's like a tree, and it's like a living organism, or like tendrils or something. And the cavemen are strapped to that. I started having all these like images in my head. And, they asked me for some changes I think mostly in the presentation or some story beats.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest changes that the editors asked for was that I picture Jurassic League as, this is the Batman issue. It's a 6-issue miniseries, right? But this is the Batman issue. This is the Superman issue. This is the Aquaman issue. And towards the end, they come together. They're like, no, scratch, forget about that. They have to meet as soon as possible because the Justice League is the Jurassic League. Yeah. So the fans of the Jurassic League, of the Justice League, want to see them all get together as soon as possible. And then I came up with some origin ideas for like the powers. Like, okay, so because there's regular dinosaurs, right, in this world. How does this dinosaur end up being an anthropomorphic dinosaur that dresses as a bat? And we came up with ideas. Some of them were my ideas, some of them were Daniel's, but we never showed them in the book. We didn't have room.
Oh wow!
But there's ideas for that, and some of them were like, I think they're so funny. They're like really fun, like both to look at and like silly, but the tone for Jurassic League is that, yeah, it's a silly concept, but I took it super seriously. So that makes it even more fun, in my opinion.
A dinosaur dressed as Batman is silly at its core. But to your point, it was a really fun read. It was awesome. Gorgeous looking book. And I can't recall the name of the fill-in artist that stepped in, I think, in issue 4 or 5.
Yeah. Rafa Garres.
Yo, his style, I won't lie, at first I was like, yo, where's Juan? Why is Juan not on this issue? But I grew to really love that issue a lot. Awesome. Yeah, so like great action. It looked great. The character design wise, this is a prime example of this is a great example of like character design work and really playing around with like iconic designs for Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, and like still carrying those iconic signature aesthetics and like giving them a cool look. Aside from like the trio, aside from Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman, I thought your designs for the Aquaman version, dinosaur version, Flash, and especially Black Manta were among my favorites. And when I saw when Black Manta makes his appearance in the series, that's when I started drawing parallels. Like, yo, this reminds me of Gendy Gartarsky. This reminds me of Primal Rage. Like, that's when I started seeing like the vision for it. And you've got one hell of a story too, man. A lot more heartfelt than I thought. I was really expecting just dinosaurs punching each other, but I'm like, damn, I'm over here crying for Batman, for the loss of this dinosaur's family.
That's awesome. That makes me very happy.
How did Daniel Warren Johnson and Mike Spicer come in? Because like them two are like two peas in a pod. They're tight. Like Mike Spicer has colored. Tight. I think Mike Spicer has colored everything Daniel Warren Johnson has done.
Mm-hmm. So initially, like my editor, Katie Kubert, whom I'm very like.
Wait, Katie Kubert related to like Andy and the Kubert?
Yeah.
Oh wow, from the Kubert family.
Adam and Andy are her uncles.
Oh,
so Joe Kubert was her grandfather.
Okay.
Yeah. So I love Katie. Yeah, yeah.
That family is comic book royalty, man. That is.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, yeah. So I was very close with Katie, and she is also a huge dinosaur fan. So it was like, I took this idea from, there's a manga and anime called Bakuman that it's amazing. Highly recommended.
Yeah,
but they
good.
talk about the relationship between the artist and the editor. That is something that a lot of people don't know. But I thought, it was like a perfect storm because I wanted to do dinosaurs. Katie's a huge dinosaur person. If I pitch this to her, she's going to love it. And I love it too. This is going to work. Initially, I was going to write the whole thing, right? But I never published anything as a writer. So they were like, maybe we need someone to write this with you, Juan. Hope you don't mind. That's fair. Okay, whatever. As long as I can draw and get this published. So I thought, okay, I don't want to be paired with someone who's not my vibe. Like there's a lot of writers that it's all dialogue or it's like very boring or whatever. I want to work with someone that hopefully has a similar DNA.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel. Like I met Daniel for the first time at Emerald City, I think years ago, 2015, 2016. We got along really well. And then I just texted him to see, hey dude, I'm working on this thing, but they want someone to write this with me. Are you on board? He's like, yeah, let's do it. And that's pretty much it. Then I emailed Katie.
Damn easy.
Yeah. And then I emailed Katie, hey Katie, Daniel said he would be interested. That's cool. Like, yeah, that's perfect. I love Daniel. And that's how it happened.
Wow. Your career so far has been a lesson on persistence, with emailing the editor, and just kind of like right time, right place. And I mean, really, and kind of setting, and kind of looking at, I guess foresight is the word I'm thinking of, like seeing, like, leaning into the multiverse thing. You just, drew 40 pages of that multiversity comic, finding like a little pocket for you to fit in this story. And like knowing the right people, I think like, it almost feels like right place, right time, but there is definitely like a lot of like prep and planning that you do behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think also I left Buenos Aires when I was 23. I moved to Mexico with friends. One of them we worked together and everything. But I was gonna say that a lot of bad stuff happened in there in Mexico. And also then coming to the States and adjusting to the States. And when I came to the States, I had 3 roommates and I was sleeping on a couch in a living room for like 6 months, 9 months till I met my girlfriend at that point. And then we moved in together. But I'm saying this because I'm just realizing now, right? But I think your life or your experiences in that helped me like adapt and read situations. And although maybe I couldn't put like a word to it or understand it completely, I had like an instinct where I could like read people, read situations, adapt, act quickly. And I think that maybe translate to, I'm doing death metal. There's a multiverse. I hate superheroes. I want to do dinosaurs, and seeing all the pieces fit, I think it like a lot of like at that point it sucked. I lived through so many bad experiences, but it kind of shaped me and gave me that like that skill. I think I'm realizing that now.
Yeah, well said. So aside from learning a bunch of different dinosaurs, because I'm looking at this list of dinosaurs, and some of these I won't even pretend to try to like pronounce.
No, I can't even do it either. So don't worry. I can't.
Because I mean, I found this like list that names every dinosaur. Like Aquaman in this comic is a baryonyx.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, was this a conscious thing? Like, were you like, okay, Green Lantern is going to be a Parasaurolophus? I said that wrong.
I'll say this. Like, I love Primal Rage because of this. They're not trying to be scientifically accurate. There's like a cobra dinosaur, there's the gorilla, there's the He's like a Triceratops, but it's not really. So
they found all the easy dinosaurs. Like, here's a Brontosaurus, right? And a Velociraptor.
yeah, exactly. They made up their own dinos. So ideally, they are based on a certain dino, but they're not real dinos. Like I never claimed that, oh, these are scientifically accurate dinos. Like, some people were complaining about that. Oh, but this doesn't look like blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, if you want to see, like,
Go read a science book.
go read a science book, go to the museum.
Yeah.
That's the right place for you. This is fun. If you like fun, do this. If you hate fun, go to a museum, or watch Jurassic Park. This doesn't cancel Jurassic Park. You can watch Jurassic Park as many times as you want. So I thought also of like the Looney Tunes. If you look at Wile E. Coyote or the Roadrunner, like, when I was a kid, I never seen a coyote in my life. So I thought they would kind of look like those things. But I saw a coyote like a few years ago, and it looks nothing like Wile E. Coyote, right? Same.
You're like, yo, why is that coyote on all fours? Why isn't he standing up and blown up?
Or the Roadrunner. The color scheme of the Looney Tunes Roadrunner it has nothing to do with the real Roadrunner. So I had that approach when I was doing the dinos for Jurassic League. Like, yes, they're loosely based on a dinosaur, but they're not. It's something different. And I gave those names on purpose to those people in the interviews. Why? Because here in the States, there's something very interesting that you look at someone and you're like, and people go like, you're like Hispanic, right? And maybe 1/3 something else. Or you're like, oh, you're Asian, right? Or you're like black, but like mixed. And that's a very American thing where people try to put
a category or a label.
Yes, exactly. So I know how people think. So I'm like, oh yeah, this is a Brontosaurus. Okay, yeah, there you go.
Gotcha.
But it's not really.
So the lesson, listeners, if you're one of those that are critiquing for accuracy, just enjoy the goddamn book. It's just fun.
Yeah.
Juan, what would you say was your biggest lesson you got out of that experience with Jurassic League I guess just like biggest lesson period. I wanted to know, like, from a writing perspective, like, did you learn something from that? I guess what was your big takeaway?
Initially, when I had this idea of the dinosaurs, I always kind of sabotage myself, second guess myself. I'm like, oh, I'm not good enough. This is stupid. No one's going to care. But I heard a quote from Rick Rubin, the music producer, that said, the only value that something needs is if the artist likes it. That's the only value that it needs, because if the artist likes it enough to do it and share it, some people will respond to that. So my takeaway was like, people were laughing at Jurassic League, and it's cool. They can laugh. I don't care. You can go read Dark Knight Returns from Frank Miller, Watchmen. That's fine. That's never going to go away. That still, exists. But there's people who enjoyed it. And that made me think that I have, just like Jurassic League, I'm not going to talk about them now, but I have 10, 15 ideas for different things, both for the big two, if the deal is right, for the big two, but if not, I'll do it on my own. And if Jurassic League, all these ideas that would seem like goofy at first, they might be home runs. Or maybe not home runs, but like a small success, as long as I can keep like paying bills with doing this. And I don't have a degree, so I would have to either do Uber or work at McDonald's, that's my reality. So as long as I can keep doing it, like, yeah. And I like the response, and that, that people respond to my stupid dinosaur idea, which again, some people think it's stupid. I never thought of it as stupid. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of goofy, but it's fun, and I want to do it, So that was my biggest takeaway. It was very encouraging.
And it sounds like it might have sparked a fire in you to, it sounds like, maybe do more writing. Is that safe to say? Like, you want to do more into the writing?
Absolutely. One of the things, I'm not going to name names, but I worked on a project that I'm like, man, this is terrible. this is not good. Like, this doesn't work. Like, where's the structure? Or, here I need to draw this. Okay, is this going to pay off later? Are we going back to this beat that I have to draw now? Or no, nothing made sense. It was like it seemed to me like a collection of brain farts. I mean, I'm not going to be Alan Moore. I'm not going to be Frank Miller. But maybe I can
carve your own space.
Yeah. I think this, Sean Murphy said this back in the DeviantArt days when he was doing journal posts. He said, maybe I'm an A, my art is an A plus or A. Maybe my writing is a C. But if I combine my C writing and my A art, I can be a B plus book. I'm good with that. So I think that's my approach. I don't care about being Alan Moore or Frank Miller. I'm going to be something else. But if I can do a decent like story, and just go crazy with the art, people will hopefully, respond, and it's going to work, and I might be able to keep doing it.
Yeah, you got to focus on just being the best version of you, like the version that's going to make you proud and, doing things that make you happy.
Absolutely.
And that was a really cool reference because I'm not familiar with like Sean Murphy's early deviant art blog years, but this isn't the first time that you've brought up. I mean, you just brought up a Rick Rubin quote. You brought up some other stuff about Todd McFarlane. I'm gonna take it us in a different path here real quick, but I love asking this question anytime we have a comic artist on the show. If you had to make a comic artist Mount Rushmore, so top 4, top 5. I mean, technically Mount Rushmore is 4, but I always add a 5th. Why not? If you had to make a comic artist Mount Rushmore of 4 artists that like inspire you, that you strive to, that you look at and in high regard, what are some of the names that come to mind?
Oh man, that's such a good one. Off the top of my head, I would say like currently, I'm gonna put some love, and I'm gonna explain my answer. I think right now the best living comic book artist, I see him probably as like the final boss in a game. Being a comic book artist was a video game, and there's a final boss. It's James Harren.
Wow.
I think he's the final boss.
He is, what was the name of that series he just did last year?
Rumble?
Not Rumble.
No, Ultra Mega.
Ultra Mega blew my mind when I got a hold of that. Yeah. James Harren is the shit.
So the first time I went to Heroes with a table as a quote unquote professional, I saw his originals in person, and it felt like a punch from Mike Tyson in the gut. Like, boom. Like, in anime, like a One Punch Man, when he goes like this, and I felt like a mouse and the lion. That's how it felt like.
Wow.
But I'm like Goku, like when I see someone strong, it gets me excited, and he might kick my ass, but it's like motivation to get better. And I think there's a reason why I think James is like the top of the mountain. And although I aspire to be like, I think it's silly to say, I want to surpass him, because I don't think that art is subjective. For some people, the best artist might be Mignola. For some people, might be Jim Lee. For some people, James Harren. And who's the best of all time? It's impossible. I don't think it works like that with art. Like, even for me, like I'm saying James Harren now, but back in the day, Sean Murphy was number 1. Sean Murphy, hands down. And another time was Ashley Wood. Another time, Greg Capullo, Todd McFarlane.
It changes with your taste, right? It sounds like it changes with your taste as you grow up, the things you like.
Yeah, totally. And for example, I love the Turtles. I love the Turtles. I love the toys. I love the cartoon. I love the animation. But I wouldn't necessarily say that Kevin Eastman or Peter Laird are my art heroes. I like the Turtles, but I'm not particularly crazy about them as individuals. If that makes sense?
Yeah, that's fair. So you've got James Harren at the top. He's George Washington in this analogy. Who else? Who else is on the Mount Rushmore?
Well, I would say when I was starting out, Greg Capullo, Todd McFarlane, I had a huge Lenny Liu and Chris Bachalo phase. They were my heroes. But then I read a lot of manga, So the artist of One Punch Man, Yusuke Murata, he might be also a final boss, like for sure. He's like James Harren and then Murata, because he's insane, dude. And also, a lot of people don't know about this, but before One Punch Man, he did a football manga called I Shield 21. The anime is not very good, but the manga, dude, I don't care about football. I don't care about sports. I don't play sports. But this book is about American football, and I devoured that thing. That thing made me cry, made me cheer.
Wait, it's about American football?
Yeah, American football.
Oh, you piqued my ears are piqued?
It's like, dude, look it up. I Shield right 21.
Okay.
And the art, you can also see, I think this might have been his first professional work. So you see the progression, how different volume 1 looks from volume 5.
Wow, and I have never seen this. This looks pretty fucking cool.
Dude, and also some of the art, I would say One Punch Man is like at the top of my list, but I Shield 21 sometimes is as good, if not better. Yeah, the volumes are out of print, so it might be very pricey, but you can probably read it online somewhere.
Okay. So we got 2 of 4 for your Mount Rushmore. Who else do you got?
Shoot, I don't know. Beasley, Simon Beasley for sure. I don't know. I think James might be the top, and Murata. But then the rest kind of change and depends on how I feel and depends on whether I'm counting the actual art or what it makes me feel. But yeah, I think James and Murata would be the core. Maybe Beasley would be the core. And then like floating, I would say McFarlane, Capullo, Leniel Yu, Chris Bachalo.
So they could be swapped out for that 4th place anytime, depending on the mood.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Depending on the mood.
All right, now that's a solid list, man. I mean, the James Harren being so high up there is a little. It's not surprising, but I think it's one of the more interesting picks that I've heard. That's a solid Mount Rushmore. Juan, what would you say is the best series that I feel like I already know the answer, so I wanna take Jurassic League off the board. I know how close Jurassic League is to you. I can already tell like your enthusiasm for that series. It speaks volumes. But with Jurassic League off the board and considering everything else you've done, what series do you feel like best represents you artistically, and maybe even a little bit of like your personality? Like, what series are you most proud of outside of Jurassic League?
That's a great question.
Because there's 2 series I'm kind of in between to check out next. I've obviously read Jurassic League. I've read the Multiversity book, but I didn't know that you did the interior art for this DC Pennyworth series.
Yeah,
and then I haven't read the sci-fi series Horizon that you did for Image. So I'm kind of like in between those 2. So I'm looking for like direction on which one you felt like you came most correct in.
I don't know. I think. Oh man, you're putting me on the spot. I think outside of Jurassic League, I'm really not answering your question. I'm sorry, but I'm answering in a separate way.
Sure.
I think my favorite work outside of Jurassic League is my Venom stuff. Like the 3 issues of Venom. And like you said, the personality comes through and my personal taste. I think Venom is probably the best vehicle for me in American comics. Maybe the Turtles. I would love to draw the Turtles.
Oh my God.
IDW
I feel like
is
you
listening.
Absolutely destroy it.
I would love to draw the Turtles, guys. I'm free maybe in 2024. For now, I'm free for now. I don't know.
Look, I'm gonna find you an editor's email. All right, I got you.
Yeah. So I would say Venom. That's like the most honest answer. Sorry, I didn't answer the other thing.
No, that's kind of what I was looking for. So I'll have to go back and check out the Venom. I'm assuming like the stickers that you made, the stickers that you sell when you set up at these comic conventions. That's the Venom from the comic, right?
Yes and no. It's like one of the Venom stickers is like a commission that I turned into a sticker and changed some stuff.
Okay.
One was a commission. Then another one. Yeah. And the other 2 were actual drawings from these books. But again, I changed some stuff and recolored them. The Venom with the back towards the viewer. It's from a panel. that kind of blew up on Instagram, like when I posted it. Okay, so that thing at that point was the thing with most likes I ever got. It was like 15K back then. But it's a funny story. Like, we can go back to this. I have a post that's going to reach 275K likes.
Wow.
And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Like, this is, I don't think it's one of my best works.
What's the post?
It's Teen Titans. It's Beast Boy as a little cat, and then Raven appears and hypnotizes 2 security guards. And that thing, dude, got 275K likes. Unfortunately, I cannot convert that to money, you know, or followers. Yeah, but it's cool. It's an interesting thing that happened. Unexpected.
The algorithm surprises me every single day of like what it picks up, what people don't. You're like, come on, guys, I really put my heart and soul into this. But then like this bullshit post I did, it's like blown up. I know exactly what you mean. I'm gonna try to find this. I think I know what Venom image you're talking about. And if I could find if you'll send me a good image of it, I'll use it as the episode episode artwork, probably.
Oh, perfect. I love it. Yeah, I'll do that.
So it sounds like I can't go wrong with any of your Venom stuff. So I'll check that out next.
Yeah, please do. Please do. Yeah. Unfortunately, there's just 3 issues. Dude, one of them went to 4th printing. Oh, like, wow. It's not like I'm tooting my own horn, but
now 4th print's a flex.
It's a pretty big deal, you know? And what makes me happy is that I done 3 issues, but people associate me with the character because they must like the way I draw him. They must, you know, and again, not to toot my own horn, but I really like my version of Venom. I really like it. Like, I don't know if it's like arrogant, but like,
what is it about it? What is it about your version that you like?
I like that Venom combines 2 of my skills, you know, my artistic skills. And one is like male anatomy. Like, I learned anatomy. I looked at tons of photos of bodybuilders, studied the muscles, the shapes, everything. And then monsters. And I love the turtles, and I like sharks. And Venom is kind of like has like a shark mouth.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he changed his shape. That's what I like about him too. That is like the fact that he's like organism that's kind of like liquid, but it can change form and it can become solid. It can stretch, enlarge, whatever.
I imagine it probably keeps it fresh for you. Like, as an artist,
Absolutely.
You're not drawing the same thing. You could play around with it.
Yeah. And once I figured in my head, like, no one told me this, I just came up with this idea that, oh, he's like rubber. He's like rubber. So I can do whatever I want with his face, you know? And also, it's a cartoon. It's not like a cartoon. It's a comic. So you can play with the rules of reality, you know, to some degree. So I stretch the eyes, deform the eyes. Sometimes I make the big teeth. Sometimes it's the shark mouth. Sometimes it's like Sam Keith, that he did like the cat from Alice in Wonderland,
cat, yeah.
The Cheshire cat. Sometimes I do that smile. Sometimes the tongue, no tongue, the saliva, no saliva. He's so versatile. Sometimes I draw him without a jaw or without a chin in some commissions. And it's like fun. It's like, yeah, he's made of rubber, so he can look however I want. So that's why I like Venom so much.
Venom, the character that keeps giving back to artists. I like it.
Yeah.
So Juan, where are you at in your career now? Like, what do you got project wise? Like, what can people expect from you, especially coming off of, you know, the success of Jurassic League, dipping your toe into co-writing? Like, can people expect you to be writing more? Like, what do you got lined up?
Yeah. Okay. So the most immediate thing is Marvel Black, White, and Blood, Black, White, and Red, Marvel Zombies.
Yeah, Marvel Zombies, Black, White, and Blood. Yeah.
Black, White, and Blood. That's coming out. I don't know when it's coming out, but I'm wrapping it up in August. So then I don't know. It comes out when it comes out. So that's one thing. Then another thing that they gave me last week or the previous week, but I don't know. I don't think I can talk about it. It's not Venom, but yeah. Hopefully it's cool, but I don't know. I don't know that one's coming out either. But then it's interesting because I feel like, you know, sometimes as a freelancer, it's like feast or famine. There were periods of time when I didn't have a lot of work, but then sometimes I have so much that I have to turn down stuff. Or it's like, a funnel, like a funnel when you put
like a lot of liquid in and it's slowly.
like a lot of stuff. Yeah. Like a lot of stuff on the top. So maybe nothing comes out, or like little drips. So I feel like I got so many offers and so many projects that now I'm like, I want to say yes to everything. Obviously, I want the work. I want my art to be out there. I want to draw. I want the money. I want to be busy. But sometimes it's like, man, I'm just one person, so hopefully and thankfully these people are being very patient. Hopefully 2024, there's going to be a lot of books. Well, nothing with DC for the moment. There's no problem in saying that. Nothing with DC. Marvel, yeah. The Marvel Zombies, then the other thing. But then stuff with like indie publishers, but they pay good rates. So it works. And it's like, I don't have the pressure of like, oh, make sure the costume matches the previous issue,
Yeah, it's not a lot of like continuity, backlog, and all that to worry about.
Exactly. So that's very cool. That's what's in my plate right now.
All right, man. Well, look, I'm sure I speak on behalf of the listeners. Whatever you got going on or coming next will be worth checking out. And I just looked up
Thank you, man.
That Marvel Zombies book. Issue 1 comes out October 25th. Marvel Zombies, Black, White, and Blood. There isn't a bunch of solicitations. I imagine it's probably like issue 2 or whatnot, but at least that's when the first issue comes out. So I'll be picking that up whenever I see your name on there, Juan.
Awesome.
I got one more question for you, man. And
yeah.
I always like closing out with this question because I like to imagine there's a lot of no, not that I even imagine. I know there's a lot of aspiring comic creators listening, whether that be writing, pencilers, inkers, colors, etc. What's a piece of advice you'd give to an aspiring comic artist that's looking to break into the industry based on something that you wish you would have known, like as you entered the industry? Like, what would you advise to that aspiring artist?
I would advise, if you want to do comics, just do comics on your own, whether you're getting paid for it or not. If you need to have like a main job, like a 9 to 5, whatever that is, do it. And then your free time, draw comic books. Whether it is your own story, come up with your own story, or work with a script. There's sample scripts online that you can download, or buy a really poorly drawn comic book and draw it well. That's another exercise that they suggested.
I've never heard that. That's pretty cool. I've
But
never
it's
heard
cool.
that one.
Yeah, go to the store, grab the worst looking comic that you can find and do it well. It's a good exercise. And then, but then I would say, like, there's already, I wouldn't consider myself like a new guy anymore. I feel like there's already like newer guys, younger guys than me, like started to come out, like, Jake Smith, Kevin Catalan, Jevin Luke.
Wait, did you just say Kevin Catalan?
Yeah, Kevin Catalan. He's awesome.
Dude, he is, man. All right. This is definitely going to be for the video listeners. Kevin Catalan, I met him at HeroesCon for the first time this year. And I hope Kevin is listening. That dude is awesome. He drew the Space Knights comic book that came out through Cosmic Lion. Big shout outs to Eli. And at this year's HeroesCon, I commissioned Kevin to do a commission piece. And it actually just came in today.
Oh, nice.
I'm going to go ahead and grab it, and I'm going to go ahead and show you what it is. Hold up.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Wow, this is kind of like serendipitous because I was waiting on this for a hot minute.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
or you're opening it right now.
Yeah, right now for you, man.
Dude.
All right, here we go. And I had him draw a super obscure commission piece. So at the convention, I don't know, I got this weird itch of like Combo Man.
Combo Man? Oh, yeah. The one from the comic book ads.
Yeah. Yeah, the most shameless, marketing for. All right, here we go. Oh my God. So, I guess like quick little backstory. I bought like a print from Kevin, and it was a Dial M for Monkey, speaking about Dexter's Laboratory and Genny Tartakovsky. And I liked it so much, and I was like, dude, I think you would be perfect to do a Combo Man commission. And he was hype about it, and sure enough, my man absolutely
Dude, he's so
killed
good.
it. He's insane.
That's awesome.
So I'm glad that you mentioned his name. He's definitely like
Up and coming.
big time. He's like a prime example of like up and coming artist.
Yeah, dude. And he's so hardworking. You can tell how he, like, I see his commissions and I can tell, or his pages, and I can tell, oh, he's studying this. He watched this. He practiced this. You know, he's like learning all the time and like the nicest dude. Like the nicest dude. I mean, the other ones I mentioned also super nice people. But with Kevin, we hung out at Heroes. It was like such a nice interaction. Like he was, it's funny. I mean, it's weird maybe that I say it, but it felt like I was to some degree like senpai, you know, like he was like, but he was like he was cool about it. He was like picking my brain and asking me different things. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm not like those people who like keep secrets. So I don't want people to surpass me. So I'm going to withhold information. No, I'm like, I share everything. If you're cool, I share everything. I don't care. I don't mind. And he was like that, dude. We hang out at yeah. No, he's such a cool guy.
That's awesome. You've been fantastic, man. This has been a great conversation.
Yeah, man. Likewise.
I'm gonna have links to your website, to your store in the show notes. Is there anything that you want to get off your chest? Any shameless plugs? Any promo that you want to do?
I think no. Check out my store. Check out all the stickers that I have. I have a lot of prints. I have 2 conventions. Dragon Con, end of the month.
Oh, cool. Here in
Dragon
Atlanta.
Con.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Dragon Con. And then, what's the other one?
Please say New York Comic Con.
New York Comic Con. I went to New York Comic Con. I got my flight last weekend for crazy cheap. It was probably like a fluke. It was like a glitch in the Matrix. It was so cheap. So New York Comic Con, and end of the year, LA Comic Con, here in LA, obviously, at the convention center. So those.
Well, hell yeah, dude. I'm looking forward to seeing you at New York Comic Con. That'll be fantastic. And I can't wait for the world to hear this episode. Juan, you've been great, man.
You've been great. You too, man. It was so much fun.